Chapter 1. Introduction to Kettlebells. The kettlebell has taken until the past 15 years to gain a steady followership outside of the Soviet Union in the mainstream exercise community. This cannonball with a handle has long been one of the main training tools for Western European athletes, and the strongest of the strong tend to use kettlebells to some extent. The 1920s saw strongman competitions, back when people were truly strong. Pictures of these guys often involve bent bars, anvils, and kettlebells. The kettlebell is an oddly shaped weight, thus it's used as a ballistic training tool with potent effect. Anything that swings as much as a kettlebell does is going to take real skill and strength to control. Depending on the exercise program you are using, the resulting strength, stamina, endurance, flexibility, coordination, agility, balance, accuracy, speed, and power are far beyond conventional methods employed in today's gyms. Kettlebells are fun and hard at the same time. Workouts can be short and intense or flowing and easy for longer periods. Barbells are great for easily lifting lots of weights, doing big squats, and generally building a strong core. The downside of the barbell is that due to its being a bar, you can use it only in the frontal plane of the body. Lifting a barbell resembles only lifting a barbell. Working out with kettlebells has prepared me for everything from running, swimming, and being a generally more useful person. I am not putting barbells down. I just want to stress the benefits of using kettlebells over any other exercise modality. Oddly shaped objects represent some of the challenges we're faced with when confronted with gravity and the vagaries of moving your own body as well as an external object. A kettlebell is an iron ball or bell with a handle. Unlike a dumbbell, which has a center of mass directly in line with the handle, the bell's center of mass is extended beyond the hand. I am not sure if you know this, but the further the center mass is from an object, the more it will swing and become ballistic. If you have already picked one up, then you already know that the bell keeps moving after you have stopped the movement of your arm. This means having to react to a heavy piece of iron as it flips over your wrist and lands on your forearm in the resting position. This means needing an awareness of the kettlebell's location as well as exactly where your knees, shins, shoulders, and toes are. You might think you know where these things are, right? Wait until a ballistic training session with your kettlebell, and I feel that you might come to know yourself a little bit better than you do now. There is nothing like the pressure of keeping yourself safe from a swinging ball of iron to cement your mental map of your anatomy. Kettlebells are currently in use by military, police, fire, and the aerospace communities, as well as training tools for anyone with a bell and a little bit of will. The kettlebell trains the nervous system to react quickly, and exercises with it are necessarily going to build strength, flexibility, stamina, and endurance. Even if you just pick it up, swing it, and move it around a bunch with no training or real understanding. Mother Nature does not care if you read this book, just that you do things that challenge her. Pick up a bell, and you will quickly be challenging the Mother Nature in you. The bells vary in size and shape. American Kettlebell Club, AKC, uses kettlebells that have handles that turn in at 90 degrees, while Russian Kettlebell Club, RKC, uses handles that look more like upside-down coat hangers, or Teletubbies, if that reference rings home for you. The difference is in the balance, as the RKC bells have a connective point closer together, whereas the AKC bell handles are closer to the outside of the bell. I recommend starting off with RKC bells, as there is more room for your wrist, and they're going to be a little trickier than their AKC counterparts, making it a simple affair to go from RKC to AKC, but an awkward one in reverse. Weights are measured in 3 ways. First, pounds. This is the least common, and you should ignore bells with the poundage on them. Pounds are based on an arbitrary number and are never going to sync up nicely with old-school tools like kettlebells. Second, kilograms. This is the most common. Bells come in weights or flavors, as I like to think of it, in 4-kilogram increments. Sure, some company out there sells them in different increments, but for the most part 4 kilos is the only movement up or down on the weight scale. The third is a pood. This is the old Imperial Russian standard whereby 1 pood is equal to 16 kilos. This is commonly the language used by kettlebellers who work out consistently with the bells, but you might just want to think about kilograms. The weight you start with should feel heavy enough to feel the loading in your shoulder when you lift it, but not so heavy that you cannot perform multiple repetitions of the kettlebell swing. For men, this usually means 16 or 20 kilos, and for women, this can mean 12 or 16 kilos. A good rule of thumb to use in moving up in weight is being able to complete 50 one-handed swings with both arms without being terribly sore the next couple of days. Once you can do that with your 16-kilo bell, you can think about moving up. Start with a reasonable weight. The leaders in the sport work out with 32 kilos max, and 24 is the usual. Remember that the kettlebell is a ballistic tool, thus will be spinning through your grip, and is not a measure of the maximum amount of weight you can lift. If you are careful and consistent with your kettlebelling, your body will respond with seriously positive adaptations, men and women alike. If you try and be a kettlebell hero, you may miss some training time due to strains and sprains. This book has been laid out with the safety first, followed by gaining useful range of motion, then a look at starting positions. Following that, each movement series builds on the previous. You cannot swing a kettlebell until you can deadlift it, and you cannot clean or snatch until you can swing with one hand with perfect spinal stability. The fun stuff is being able to train every day. Spoiler alert, the more complex movements are endlessly entertaining and will provide you with a lifetime of both physical and mental adaptation that you can pass on to your children. Gained traits are not heritable, but ebooks might be. Your hips are going to be moving a lot, and they are connected by the strongest muscles in the body. The hip flexors are what allow you to run, jump, lift, throw, punch, and generally engage in athletic endeavors. In order to move a kettlebell, you're going to be using more than one joint at a time, just like in a squat. So let's squat. In a squat, the hips move back and down, with the pelvis rotated anteriorly. Think of sticking your butt out. As you send your hips down, keep your knees apart and elevate your chest. This will keep your spine arched, which is the proper and safe position for most exercise, all but running and going overhead with a weight. The bottom of the squat has your hip joint below your knee, most of the weight in the heel, and your knees behind your toes. Do 10 air squats to mobilize your knees, hips, and back. The hips can only move two directions for all their immense power. They either open, when you are standing straight up, or close when you are at the bottom of the squat. The open phase is at full extension, and the closed phase is when the hips are fully flexed. Flexion and extension, open and closed, are interchangeable. Flexing makes a joint angle smaller, while extending creates a larger angle. Your spine takes compressive loads very well and is made to endure much dynamic loading so long as you support it with core muscle and keep it in the correct shape, aka form. Remember that the goal is to train again the next day, not become a god on day one. You certainly won't be having fun with your kettlebells with an injured spine. As far as movement goes, the spine bends at the lumbar area, which is the lower back. The spine can flex and extend, but that is it. In full flexion, you would be bent over, touching your toes, whereas full extension has you looking behind you with your back arched. Arch your back and squat, making sure to keep your head up and not drop it down between your knees. Standing up, go from spinal flexion to extension, doing this for a full minute. During standing flexion, your shoulders will slump forward, and during extension, your shoulders will be back and down, allowing you to grip a piece of paper with your shoulder blades. Don't try it, just for explanatory purposes. For all squats and lifts off the floor, your spine is arched. For all overhead movement, your back is braced. In the braced position, round your back a little bit, taking the hollow out of your lumbar curve with the assistance of your abs. Squeeze your abs in order to shorten the distance between your navel and sternum while keeping your chest up. This creates a straight spine and works great for running, jumping, or pressing. The shoulders. This is a ball and socket assembly with the greatest range of any joint the human body boasts. For shoulder movement, I will be using terms that describe rotation. Internal and external rotation I find easier to understand when you have your arms by your sides and your thumbs face forward. Externally rotate by pointing your thumbs away from your body, your right thumb going right and your left going left. Feel that shoulder position? That is the position of the shoulder joint for all kettlebell movement unless I specify otherwise. Internal rotation is the only other way you can rotate, with your thumbs rotating to point behind you. Got it? Good. A review of Chapter 1. Purchase a kettlebell of an appropriate weight. While its weight should be evident when you lift it, it should not be difficult to lift with one hand. Find a sandpit or somewhere else you won't mind dropping the kettlebell when you need to.